ready for this.
No, not the Jacoby Brissett era. No, I'm not.
One word came to my mind when I
One
heard
word.
this.
What do you got?
Boo.
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 Stinks.
Boo.
Stinks.
This stinks.
We
Keefe.
want Drake.
We want Drake.
We want Drake.
Week 2, maybe. Maybe
That's
we'll get
going
him
to
week 2.
be week 2 at Gillette Stadium, whether Drake's on the field or not. You're going to hear that. You're going to hear quite a bit of "We Want Drake," or maybe there's something more catchy. That's the first thing that popped in my mind.
No, that's good.
"We Want Drake."
That's only 10:01.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
Yeah,
10:03.
What the hell?
I don't know.
The digital clock. You can't read it.
I said the time before I looked.
But yeah, that was brutal. What a whirlwind this has been. So yesterday, 1:15 press conference. We go live to it. He's like, guys, we've made a decision, but I don't have it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I can't tell you. I got to tell the guys.
But I know.
I got to tell the fellas. And you're like, okay. And then so we finish our show, and we're like, I guess he talks Friday. The next scheduled press conference is Friday.
That is what was scheduled.
And then out of nowhere, it's like, no. 8:30 a.m. sharp Thursday morning. And you're like, wow, this must be a quarterback announcement.
Get up,
Yeah.
set the coffee timer.
Yep.
Because it's Mayo's talking early, and we're gonna get
Gotta hear
big
this.
news, and he's
Yeah.
probably gonna talk for a while. I would imagine.
I would think a lot of Q&A. This is a big decision.
Big decision.
Yeah, huge.
We've been talking about it for months.
Months.
I mean, going back to when Drake May was drafted, Jacoby Brissett was signed. We're talking about. You would assume he'd talk about it for a while.
It's a big deal.
You may not know this if you were listening to the Greg Hill Show this morning, and it's Jones and Keefe, by the way, on WEEI. We're going to talk to Dietrich Wise of the Patriots coming up 10 minutes from now.
Nice. Good.
So we'll get his thoughts on how he found out, the decision, is it the right call, all these things. I'm curious the inner workings with Gerard Mayo as well. So we'll do that about 10 minutes from now. If you're unfamiliar, though, you didn't catch it live on the Greg Hill Show, you didn't wake up, blinked, you might have missed it. What we played for you, that was it. That was the whole thing. That's all we said.
You could put the whole press conference in a tweet and then have like room to with a 1-minute analysis afterwards, and it could be in there. You don't even have to be verified. You don't have to be a pro account. That was the quickest press conference ever for the decision, for really answering a single question that has been asked off and on throughout the entire camp.
Yep.
Right? They would take different runs at it, like how's it going now, and Mayo. One of the reasons why it was asked a lot was because Mayo's answers would often change. You know, in July, Jacoby was obviously the starter. Then a week ago, it was like, we don't have a starter.
No.
And when we do, we'll announce it. And then it was like, well, Jacoby's QB1. And you're like, wait, huh? What does that mean? Isn't QB1 starter?
Well, even today, he's like, I.
That's a pretty big sign that you and I agree on this. We don't think Gerard Mayo picked Jacoby Brissett.
No, I mean, I think I could see why he would want Jacoby Brissett because there's some self-preservation
Did he
there.
get swayed into it, you think?
Maybe.
Okay. I don't think you wanted him.
He didn't look happy today. I'll acknowledge that.
Okay.
Like, I'll acknowledge that he did not look happy, and there could be a bunch of reasons why. Maybe he thought this was going to be his big announcement, and it was scooped. I know it's your territory.
No, you can use that phrase.
But it was scooped by Schefter
scooped.
this morning.
Yeah.
/ Rap Sheet, who actually had it first. They were like at basically the same exact time.
I know. We got to go back and check the actual seconds.
Yeah,
I
so
think it was probably similar.
We got to break that down. It was a photo finish.
Yep.
But he was supposed to talk at 8:30. We're going to get the announcements. There's no leaks. I got to talk to the team. I got to make sure I talk to all the players. Everybody's got to know. We don't want you guys to know before us. And then I heard Jelani Tavai when I was driving in this morning. It was 8 o'clock. He's like, yeah, I don't know. They had a team meeting, and probably the second that team meeting ended, Schefter, Rap Sheet both raced to hit tweet, and it was out there. Jacoby Brissett is the starter on the New England Patriots. So
I have news for you?
What's that? Adam
Schefter and Ian Rappaport both tweeted Jacoby Brissett was the starter with a graphic.
Don't tell me down to the second.
8:10.
Yeah.
I'm on the computer. It only has the hour and minute that it was tweeted. It does not have the second. Both were 8:10. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots account, 8:30 for Jacoby Brissett. So the Patriots didn't know, but
yeah, the NFL Twitter account was like 8:16.
These guys. So the Patriots were the last of this. They're like, all right, here he is. Maybe they had to get like an updated photo.
You gotta see who leaned in with their torso first. That's it. I found that out in the Olympics. It's torso first. It's not the head. It's not the arms.
I watched that 100 meter like 100 times. I still don't know who.
I didn't get it.
I don't think he won.
But who leaned in with their torso? Who's Noah Lyles here?
I guess Schefter and Rapport was a tie.
So
2 gold medals.
So that was weird. Like the whole thing. I agree with you. The whole thing was strange. Yesterday was strange. We're like, they're going to make the announcement. 1:15, it's Mayo. Then he's early, which was also weird, but whatever. That's a minor gripe by me. He doesn't make the announcement. Guys, I'm going to talk to the players tomorrow. No one's going to know. Totally nothing's going to leak. I'm going to talk to the players. I want them to know first before anybody else. Then this happens. Then he gets up to the podium at 8:30. Pretty prompt, I think, today.
Yeah, today was pretty sharp.
And he doesn't look thrilled. He doesn't sound thrilled.
No.
And by the way, I know a lot of you don't either. You can weigh in 617-779-7937. How do you feel about this? Do I even need to ask?
I was going to say, for an obvious kind of result, people are still really pissed.
I don't think you like it, but you can weigh in again, 617-779-7937. One of the many ways you can interact here with Jones and Keefe. He didn't sound happy.
No.
So why do you think that is? Do you think it's purely about the announcement and they're going with Brissett and that's not what he wants? Or do you think it's about the mechanics of how this all came to be today?
I do think maybe a little bit of both. I've never thought that he really wanted Brissett. I think that is a Elliott Wolf, Alex Van Pelt decision. I don't think he has a big say in the offense. He has sort of alluded to it. He has tried to change course recently and say that it's his decision, but he's had months to admit that it was his decision or to say that it was, and he hasn't. Like, he's the one that is saying it was like a big group was going to come together for this quarterback. Mm-hmm. So how all of a sudden that changes and now you're the guy? Like, I really don't think that he is the
Alex,
guy.
myself, Elliott, and the rest of the offensive staff. I think our goal is to put the best.
All of them.
So, like, 20 guys come up with who the quarterback is. I don't think it's him.
Taekwon, we were just talking about Taekwon Underwood off the air.
He's on there.
Taekwon Underwood, everybody agrees, and all of a sudden Taekwon Underwood was like,
guys, have we thought about Joe Milton? Like, yes, Taekwon. We thought about Joe Milton.
I know I said the whole staff, but pipe down, Taekwon.
I don't think that Mayo likes this decision. I also think, and I don't know what it is, so we can speculate on this, but yesterday, leading into today, when you had another press conference tomorrow, the national guys scooping it, which I don't think that would bother Mayo, but just all of it together reeks of a dog and pony show. Like, it's just, is how buttoned up is your organization? You became the very last team in the NFL to announce your starting quarterback. So right away, that's sort of, you get a little something for that.
You could have beat Pittsburgh, but you chose to punt on that yesterday. You chose not to make that announcement yesterday.
But you were afraid to say it yesterday because then you wanted to wait to announce it to the team. And then apparently you announced it to the team this morning, but you must have told Schefter first because those guys sent the tweet before that meeting happened and before Mayo went on. Tavai was on the morning show.
Had no idea.
He had no clue who the quarterback was going to be. And what time was he on? 7:40 or
yeah,
8?
It was leading into 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
by the time he got off the air, it was probably 8-ish, and he still didn't know.
There is a possibility, and we'll ask Dietrich Wise coming up, maybe in that 20 minutes where he got off the air and those guys tweeted it, maybe he found out then. I don't know. It just seems like disorganized over there more than anything else. You know, we'll get into how damning it could be for Drake May and all that stuff. Like, maybe not that damning, right? Because Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, they didn't start week 1. I'm sure it was a big deal in Buffalo and San Diego at the time, and then obviously those guys ended up being fine. But for the here and now, you look at it, you're saying, I don't think the coach and the offensive coordinator / GM are in lockstep. I wonder how the players feel, considering by all accounts the rookie won the competition. So you're going to say we have a competition, but then the winner of said competition doesn't get the job? That's very strange.
Yeah.
And then just the way it all played out these last couple of days.
So we're going to relive some of Mayo from yesterday. You heard the entirety of Mayo today. We'll do that coming up. You mentioned you want to hear from some players. Dietrich Wise of the Patriots going to join us about 5 minutes from now. We'll get his thoughts on this whole, charade is what it feels like. Dog and pony show is what you called it.
Yeah.
They feel like a mess. And so I wonder if Mayo's just annoyed that he only took 2 questions.
Yeah.
Now, were the reporters just like, screw this, we already know, like we came down here and so we don't have any questions for you? Or did he cut it off because he was annoyed? Did they just not want to do more than basically an announcement?
Yeah, like why? It's very strange.
It's all very strange.
That it was that quick. That was Wiggy's take right off the rip was that if this wasn't his decision, then it's hard to sit there and defend it for a half hour.
Right.
Like you don't want to answer a lot of questions about how you came to the decision because guess what? You didn't.
Well, and especially him.
And you don't want to admit that, and I think he's had a hard time balancing that because I do think overall he's a very honest person, and he wants to talk like a human, unlike Bill at these press conferences.
Yep.
And so that's why he slips up and says, like, we made the decision. I made the decision, and, all that stuff. Like, I don't think he really came up with it. I think he would prefer Drake May. And where it gets interesting, too, is does Kraft want Drake May? And if he does, at what point does he step in and override everybody? Because we can argue over who has more control, Wolf, Van Pelt, Mayo. The most control is obviously Kraft.
The boss.
Yes.
So I just wonder, and Billy brought this up, I wonder if Mayo is annoyed that, again, he didn't get to make his announcement. I'm guessing he's not the one that leaked the quarterback news.
He probably isn't, but I don't know. Do you think he's interested in, like, breaking news? Like, that's not his job. He's not in the scoops world like I am.
But do you think they wanted to call this whole thing, make the announcement, do it, and then be upstaged?
But you also set yourself up to fail because, or if you were really concerned about this, 1:15 yesterday, you claimed to have known the decision.
That was your
but
moment.
you weren't going to say what it was. You could have been the first to do it yesterday.
But now he doesn't look like a guy who is a player's coach. Like he doesn't look, and I don't know if he wants to be viewed as a quote unquote player's coach, but player friendly in that I'm going to make sure everybody knows everything's well communicated. This doesn't look well communicated. It looks chaotic.
But the last preseason game, which it shouldn't even come down to,
No.
was Sunday. And then he was talking on Wednesday, and he hadn't communicated to his players yet. So when was the decision made, and how come you couldn't have turned that around? And I got to watch the tape. Well, how long's the tape? Like you're watching the second half of that game? Why? None of the guys that are playing, or none of the guys that it even comes down to are in the second half.
Brissett was like 5 plays.
Brissett gets stuffed into the earth and had to get peeled off the mat. And I guess maybe you had to get an X-ray for him or something.
Right.
But like that, if you drag your feet on the decision, and then you're like, well, I got to tell the team, all right, well, you're only going to delay things. And in this day and age, they might not know where the leak is coming from, but it's going to get out. There's so many, especially on a football team when you have 53 players, you have 1 million people on the coaching staff. So many people work on these teams. It could get out any variety of ways.
Oh, and it's out. So before we talk to Dietrich Wise here shortly, what'd you make of the other, I think, noteworthy piece beyond just the announcement and beyond the we made the decision? I mean, I made the decision.
Of course, I mean I.
What'd you make of Jacoby Brissett as our starter this year? He said it twice.
So that, I think, is kind of more coach speak because I think, especially at that position, you can't put a date on it. And, that's such a horrible spot to put Jacoby Brissett in. He's our starter for 4 weeks because so many different things can happen. You don't know. I feel like you could bet strongly that they won't go 4-0, but hypothetically they go 4-0. Something crazy happens. Something insane happens.
You don't want to back yourself into a corner.
Then you're all right, well, we said we're going to take him out now. So, no, I think that just kind of covers your bases because teams every year go into it thinking player X is my starting quarterback for the season. The hope is the season, but things happen, whether it's injury or poor performance, which, one or both could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand that, and we'll take your thoughts on it all day long. 617-779-7937. You say he's our starter for now.
You can't do that.
That opens up the question of, oh, well, is he still your starter? This happened with Mac last year. Every single week, Bill's getting asked about it. We were asking Mac about it.
But Bill would also take him out in game all the time.
True.
So that also opened the door. So Jacoby Brissett starts on Sunday and plays wire to wire. He'll still be asked about it, but there'll be less reason for it. So if we don't see Drake May, we saw Bailey Zappi a lot before he eventually became the starter.
It's true. We got a good look at him. Which you don't need to do the yo-yoing of the quarterback.
No, I don't want that.
But I'm okay with getting a look at Drake May at some point. The Patriots have committed to a starting quarterback. Gerard Mayo kind of sort of made the announcement today. It was really Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter in a photo finish tweeting it out.